What's up, Fackers? We are back with our Fantasy and Chill 101. Next up, number 99 on the list, we have tight end Tyler Higbee of the almost said St. Louis Rams. I don't know why. These are the Los Angeles Rams. Tyler Higbee, he is our number 8 tight end for the 2020 season. Last year, he also finished as tight end number 8. Last year, he had 69 receptions.
Nice.
For 103 touchdowns on 89 targets. That comes out to 129.9 fantasy points with an 8.7 average. All right, so just looking at that average, not too impressive, but you got to remember that he didn't really come on till the end of last year. If we look at his last 5 weeks of 2019, he averaged 17.94 points per game, which would make him the number 1 tight end in fantasy over those 5 weeks.
Wow.
All right. Maybe the only concerning factor here, though, is Gerald Everett will also be a factor. He's another tight end on the Rams, and he did have a trio of wide receivers to worry about, but as we know, they just traded Brandon Cooks, but they still have 2 good wide receivers in Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. So kind of a lot of targets to kind of go around there, but definitely a guy that came on strong at the end of last year and should be a very solid contributing factor to the tight end position this year.
Yeah, his last 5 games he played, he had 8, 11, 14, 11, 12 targets. I mean, the dude, and he had 100 yards 4 times and 84 the one time he didn't. That is with Gerald Everett out, just like you said. That's the only thing that worries me a little bit. If Gerald Everett won there, this would be a top 5, top 6 guy just because the potential he showed last year and the connection with Goff. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I think there was... I'm trying to recall last year, I was doing some research when Goff would perform well, or when his tight ends would perform well. I want to say it was when he was getting a lot of pressure from the defense, he would just dump it off short, I guess, to his tight ends because their offensive line was trash. So I think if they upgrade their offensive line in the offseason, you might see a downtick in the tight end performance from the Rams because he's going to have more time to throw to Cooper Kupp. And, I mean, obviously, they'll probably run the ball more.
Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, and my boy, Josh Reynolds.
Oh, yeah, you still got Josh Reynolds there, too. I forgot. Maybe this is his time to take over the Cooks role.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Goff might have some more time to throw it deep and kind of not ignore his tight ends, but you might see a downtick a little bit. I think they're going to try to improve their offensive line. Like, that was their big weakness.
Yes, you should try.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a guy, if you watched our first 2 videos with O.J. Howard and Jared Cook, another guy you should be able to get at the very end of the tight end starters in your draft. You could probably wait, and he might still hang out there. But just like we talked about, he has the potential to rise all the way to the top with that connection with Goff. The only thing, though, there's 2 pretty good tight ends there. Gerald Everett is no slouch.
Yeah. It's the same argument we have with O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate. Like, these guys are potential top 5 guys if the other counterpart isn't there.
Yeah. Then, like, the past 2 videos we've done with Jared Cook as well, we talked about how many weapons are in New Orleans. This is kind of the same situation. But I will say, me and Ryan did pick Tyler Higbee as our potential number 1 tight end.
Dark horse number 1 tight end.
Our bold statement, yeah.
Right. Obviously, we still think Kelsey and Kittle are the top guys, but
yeah. But like we said with Jared Cook and O.J. Howard, this is the 5 to 10 range of tight ends where you're just kind of throwing them in a bag and grabbing one, and basically the same as all the others. So
right. And if you, like me and Britt talked about, if you just look at the last 5 weeks of last season, he's the number 1 tight end. So he's shown he can do it.
Yes, and I think something that has to be said too, like, he does have somewhat of like a safe floor just because he had so much work. Like, the last 6 games he played, 5, 7, 7, 12, 9, 8 catches. Like, if you're in a half PPR, which most fantasy leagues are now, like, that's a solid 4 or 5 points you're getting just
from catching the ball. Yeah,
exactly. Not even counting the yards. So I think there's something.
Do we need to talk about a little bit how Gurley is gone? So maybe even throwing the ball even more than they have been.
Hey, and my other boy, Darrell Henderson.
We will get to him at some point. He's coming up.
Mm.
I just did his profile earlier. But yeah, with the lack of Todd Gurley, we don't really know who's going to emerge as that running back. Maybe Jared Goff throws it around even more than he has been. So
Possible.
I think we're going to find out a lot about McVay too, because McVay came on the scene. Those first 2 years were dynamite. And then last year, I mean, their offense wasn't terrible, but it wasn't what it used to be. Everybody had this notion that McVay was a genius, and I mean, I still believe in him, obviously, but you have to have some sort of offensive line like Matt's talking about. They've got to upgrade that a little bit.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to get Britt's thoughts on this because we kind of agreed to use Ryan's rankings for these videos, but I want to see, would you draft Higbee over the past two tight ends we've talked about, Jared Cook and OJ Howard?
Higbee has more upside. I think Cook's a safer play. I really wouldn't touch Howard either, just because I think he's an upside play too. I could honestly see myself if I went late, like taking a chance on Higbee and Howard, because you can get them that late.
Yeah.
With the question though, I'd take Higbee over both of them, just because I think he provides that safe floor somewhat, but then he also, I mean, it's the thing with Gerald Everett too. But yeah, I'd take Higbee over both of them.
Agreed. All right. That should do
all right,
it
so
for
just
Higbee.
to recap, Tyler Higbee, our number 8 tight end for this season, and our number 99 overall player. We out.
Back off.